All right, welcome everyone to the middle and high school office hours. This is a webinar that's going to tell you some good tips and tricks on how to use Listenwise in a remote learning setting. And I really like it to be like an office hours, and which means please send me your questions and comments in the chat box, and we will answer them as we go. I am Monica Brady-Meyerov. Let me turn on my video for just a moment and give you a visual besides my static photo there. I'm based in Boston, and I'm the founder and CEO of Listenwise, and I'm really happy to be here today to share with you some ideas and ways you can use Listenwise in the classroom. And I am joined by Eric Eve, who is an 8th grade history teacher from Long Island, New York. And he's going to be on with his voice in a few minutes as soon as we work out the technical issue to get him to call in, but I know that he can see and hear what we're doing as well. And also his student teacher, Tyler Colosa, is on and will be joining us. Tyler, welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Eric, yay, made it on. Just gave you a quick introduction. Do you want to say a quick hello?
Hey, everyone. My name is Eric Eve. I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher. I teach at Lindenhurst Middle School in Long Island.
All right, thank you. So today we're going to be talking about how to access Listenwise in a remote setting, some tips and easy ways to use it that are fun, short, and simple. We're going to hear some usage scenarios from Eric Eve, and then we're always wanting to take your questions and reflections in the chat box. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and you can add in there anything you'd like at any time, and we're going to try to get to it when we can. So first, just the nuts and bolts. If you're not familiar with Listenwise, we are a fully digital listening skills building platform. We have a collection of more than 2,000 podcasts from NPR and other producers of audio, and we wrap those podcasts in easy to use teaching resources that can be assigned digitally. You can sign up for free during the closures at listenwise.com, but Listenwise is always free for teachers as well. So we make the current events collection audio and the listening comprehension questions that come with that free forever for teachers, parents, anybody who wants to use it. Now the premium subscription, which is now open to everyone, you should think about getting your classes created and enrolling your students as when you're thinking about teaching in a remote setting. You are going to need these features. I put some links on this slide to how to do that and quick videos, and you can do that later when we send you this presentation as well as the recording. So first, let's just talk about accessing Listenwise remotely, because that's one of the first things you've got to think about as we're in remote learning. So it's usable on a desktop, laptop, Chromebook, or mobile device. And I want to stress the mobile device because the interface is really super easy for students to navigate, to be able to listen and read the transcript at the same time, as well as answer the listening discussion questions or the graphic organizers, and basically complete and submit all their work online. So it's got a really nice interface, and it'll also, in their student account, allows them to search for anything they want to listen to. So it can be a student-driven platform in terms of choosing what they want to hear. All of the audio on the website too is about 3 to 5 minutes in length. So when you're thinking about assignments that you're making for your students to do at home, these are not very long. You know, it means that they could listen to them once or twice and answer 4 or 5 questions in under 15 minutes. The other thing that's great about audio is that it takes up less bandwidth. So if you're with a population of students who has intermittent bandwidth or has to go places to get hooked up, it does take less bandwidth than a video. The other thing I want to mention right off is that we do integrate with Google Classroom. So you can do single sign-on, import rostering, sharing, great integration. And these are just all really super easy ways to get you and your class set up through Google Classroom. All right, so that's some nuts and bolts. Now, how to find what to use on Listenwise and what to do with it. I'm going to take you to the search bar in the site in just a moment, but I'm just going to go over a few key things: how to do an advanced search, explain what the Lexile audio measures are, talk about the transcripts, and tell you that everything we have on the site that is in the lessons collection is aligned to standards. So with that said, let me pop over to the website and show you an advanced search by going into the search box here, and I'm just going to press return. So it brings up the advanced search on the left. So you can see right away that you can screen in a variety of ways, including by subject, Lexile audio measure, grade level, and the types of lessons. We have lessons which are fully, have a lot of features, which I'll walk through in a moment. And then we have current events, which are changing every single school day. So one thing that's brand new to the site is this Lexile audio measure. So this is an indicator of the complexity of the audio passage. This is a measure that's created by Metametrics, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the Lexile reading level. This is a measure of the audio. So when you're looking to determine which level of audio your students can understand, depending on their grade level, or maybe you're thinking about their English language proficiency level, you can use this chart as a guide to select a band of audio and find stories that are within that audio range. That's one way to select it. So if I want to, let's say I'm going to be dealing with middle and high school students, I'm going to click that box, and I'm also going to take off the elementary search, and I want to search the word water. That is going to come back with a variety of options, and it's going to give you that Lexile level right there, tell you whether it's science, or you're talking about water in the biology sense, or waterless worlds, about dystopian literature, or debates over water being and rivers being granted personhood as a current event debate. So lots of different options here for water. So one of the things I want to jump right into fast, because I want to try to ways that will be quick and easy for you to launch stories for your students. And for that reason, I'm going to focus a little bit on current events, because these are highly engaging, changing every day, and easy to assign. So if we go into this one, Handshakes Maybe History, I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, one really quick and easy way is to just share the audio with your students. Now, this does not come with the transcript, which we'll show you in a minute, but it is a super easy way to highlight it and put it into an email or your web page that you've created for your classroom, or just share the link to your Google Classroom and say, just listen to the story. It's a really interesting story. It's less than 3 minutes long, and you're going to learn a lot about history, but also culture and how it relates to today. Now, if you are assigning it on the platform, your students will be able to see the transcript with it. So I'm going to play a little bit of that.
The handshake is dead.
Well, that's according to Dr. Anthony Fauci. Last week he said he wants.
So you see how the audio is in line with the transcript. This is a research-based literacy support that helps students improve their comprehension in reading. I also want to point out over to the right, you can slow down the audio by 20%. So for struggling readers or English language learners, it is a great feature to do that. So I am going to actually turn it over to Eric Eve, because I believe you used this story recently, right, Eric?
Yeah, I assigned it yesterday for my students, and every Wednesday they have to do the Listenwise current events from the beginning of the school year till now. Their job is to do the Listenwise. Every single Wednesday, they get their story, and then they complete the quiz. It's gotten so routine that they're now either texting me or emailing me, "Hey, Mr. Eve, you forgot to put the quiz up today," and this is at like 8:01 in the morning, and I'm like, guys, like I didn't even get there yet. But it's built into their routine. Every Wednesday is a Listenwise current event, and their parents actually are looking forward to it. Their parents are actually emailing me, telling me they look forward to talking about it with their kids. And it's a really, really good way to get them thinking about other things than just your topic, connecting those dots to the world, which is, as a history teacher, connecting dots to the relevant world is really important.
Yeah, let me walk through the quiz for a minute too and go a little deeper, because these are online multiple choice auto-scored listening quizzes. And the main strands of listening comprehension that we are we're assessing for are, can students identify the main point? Do they understand a vocabulary word in context? And when you assign the quiz, you probably saw that I could choose to assign it with the transcript or without. Do you do both those? I'm curious, Eric, which one do you assign, with or without?
Haha, that's a great question. It depends. I alter it because what I found in some of the classes were some of the kids were telling me that they were not listening to the story. They were just reading it. And we've had the conversation many times during the year. I'm not testing your reading comprehension. I'm not looking forward to you reading. I want you to listen. So what I do is every other week, every third week, I'll turn off the transcript and I'll make them just listen to it. I know 2 years ago when we came down and we did our promo with you guys and our kids were actively involved, that was one of their favorite features. So I hate to take it away from them because I know a lot of the kids actually listen and read at the same time. But at the same time, I want them to work on their listening, to sit there and use their imagination and try to picture what people look like and what they're thinking about instead of sitting there focusing on the words. So you can go both ways with those. But it is something that we have discussed as a class this year.
Interesting. Great, thank you. Well, you probably noticed that I was going through the quiz and taking it. And before I submit it, I just want to point out one other thing. This toolbar pops up in the student view, and it is to help with students who, again, are struggling readers or language learners by reading out loud any word on the page or maybe even a whole sentence.
Describes.
And you'll see when you make a written assignment, the toolbar is even more, it has more resources for definitions in English and Spanish and picture dictionaries. But in the case of the quiz, we don't include that because we're asking students to understand the definitions of some words and we don't want to give that away. All right, so I just want to show you that I just took this quiz, took a bunch of guesses, and I know right away how I did. I think this is really key in remote learning situation because students can immediately see what they got wrong and what was the correct answer. So you as the teacher can go back and resubmit the quiz and wipe their scores and tell them to take it again if you want. But if not, this is also just a great way for them, as I said, to go back and say, well, wait a second, let me go back to that story.
The handshake is dead.
And let me find this part.
Various people, especially men, I think are quite,
where was that part that I missed? How did I get that wrong? Let me re-listen. And then you as a teacher from wherever you are able to look on your back-end class summary report and see how your students did on the quiz. So this is a view of your data from the quiz reporting. Now, there are 8 different strands that we test, but we're primarily in these first 4. And on any student, you can click on their name and go deeper to see how well they're doing on the strand so you can adjust your teaching. So,
I actually love that feature. Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But to have them get the answers right away, there's actually been kids who have discussed it with other kids, and they come to me and they say, Mr. Reed, we don't understand. Like, number 2, like, we both had this answer, but Listenwise is telling us this is the answer. Can we go over that? And more times than not, that happens. You would think that they would be able to go back, use the information from the questions, listen to the audio. But I got to tell you, at least maybe 15 to 20 times this year, different kids have come to me privately and said, I don't understand why that's the answer. And that's like outside of the classroom, which is huge because anytime you can get outside of the classroom is a benefit. We only get 42 minutes a day. And if they're going to be discussing it with their friends and they're going to be coming to me in the hallway and saying, I don't understand number 2, to me, that's a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And I see a question in the chat box about knowing the correct answers as they go through or at the end. They only find out the answers at the end. The stories are only in English. Another question. They are not in Spanish, but I'll show you that you can have some Spanish supports with definitions in another part of the platform that I'll go to now. And then I also got a great comment here I'll share from Electra, who says that she is sent this to her reading teacher and he loves it, and he doesn't include the transcript unless the child has a 504 or a special needs accommodation. So that's a great, it all depends on what is your goal around teaching this. Is it reading content, listening? That's how, we make it highly flexible so that you can use it any way you want. Now, I'm going to go back here and call up the story that Langston Hughes story. Eric, why don't you explain how you use this story in your class while I call it up?
Yeah, no problem. So part of going into this crisis learning, remote learning, is creating lessons that are engaging, simple, but complex. And one of the things that we created was a web quest. It's very, very simple, but very effective, using video, using websites, using interactive things. And the last thing that they had to do was complete a Listenwise on the life of Langston Hughes. The good thing was it came with a quiz, so the kids are able to take the quiz. And then their final assessment for the whole Harlem Renaissance was to go in and create a hybrid Venn diagram on 3 topics. I know that it is very effective because when I went through and graded this hybrid Venn, most of the kids listed for Langston Hughes what they heard in the podcast. And even though they did other things within the web quest, they solely remembered the things that they listened to. And to me, that is a testament. Monica and I have had this discussion before. I first got excited about Listenwise working when 4 years ago, the kids had to do a DBQ and they had to write about the Homestead Act. One of the first Listenwises that we ever did was on the Homestead Act. And when I graded the DBQ, most of the kids quoted directly from the podcast. And I had to go back and question, why did you guys do that? And they said, because it's stuck in our head. Like, we heard it and we listened to it and it's stuck in our head. That was the exact quote from the class that I talked to. So, those are the things that I've used them for. It's not something that, you can just throw at them and say, here, do this, and, it'll stick. As long as you put it out as part of the buffet in education, it will become a very effective tool for you.
Yeah, I love that story because I think it really speaks to the power of audio, and that listening to something is a full brain experience where the listener is creating a movie in their mind. And that's what I think makes it so powerful. And hearing different voices and accents, sometimes from different time periods, is just a very powerful way to learn. And I also feel like in this time of remote learning where students are spending a lot of time in front of their screens, you can assign a listening assignment with no transcript and nothing else but just listening to enjoy it, to close their eyes and take them far away. So what I'm showing you here is the lesson that goes with this story about the life of Langston Hughes. And you'll notice it has many more activities and things to do with it as a teacher. So like the current events, it has the listening comprehension questions and the theme questions, but then we have vocabulary, organizers that you can assign, and I'll show you how in just a moment. And then a teacher's guide that really walks you through how to activate student knowledge, what to say to introduce the story. And there's, of course, the standards. We are aligned to standards in all 50 states. So if you wanted to do a written assignment, you click on this and it walks you through a 5-step process that basically creates a written assignment at the end of it. So I'm going to first choose a listening organizer. I like the language identification organizer. Every story on the site has this that is a lesson, because this is a metacognitive strategy to guide your listening, so you will not lose track as you're listening. The questions load automatically, but they also give you a ton of flexibility. You can delete them, add additional words. You can create your own question. Actually, because I did not put anything in that, it just sent me back. So I'm just going to go like that. And then we also have additional videos, materials, websites, readings, paired audio. And then you are ready to give the instructions to your students and assign it. And here's also something special, again, for this remote situation. Your students are all in different places in their learning. So I might have been thinking about some students who needed more supports for reading in this, and I'm going to just assign it to them. And then when I go back and do it for the next group, I can pull it up in my dashboard, which I will right now, and I can edit the assignment and then assign it to another class or another student. So it allows you to make multiple versions. Now, right below here is the student preview. And I want to drag this over here and show you that this toolbar appears again in the student view. We're looking at what the students would see. So if there is information that or words that students don't understand, they can highlight it and have it defined in English, defined in Spanish, or have a picture dictionary. So that's just another support that helps with the learning. And as you can see here, everything is completed online, and then you're able to, we're right now in a preview, so you don't see this, but your teacher, you would have a teacher feedback box that would allow you to give your feedback, send it to the students, and even ask them to make a revision. So I'm just going to go back and show you how I got to that, because I can see in the chat box that I went a little too quickly. Is there a way to create multiple choice questions or fill in the gap questions? You know, some of the listening organizers we have do have fill in the gap questions already for you. Aside from the quiz, so the quiz is a multiple choice question. If you want multiple choice questions, click on the assign a quiz button and assign the quiz. That's the best way to get your multiple choice questions. If you want a graphic organizer, some of the lessons have that kind of fill in the blank. But what you want to do to create the written assignment is this bar right here, create assignment. It brings up the 5-step process that I just walked you through, and then you can monitor it from your classes or your assignments. Here's my classes. Let me just go to the assignments and show you a little bit more what that looks like. I see another good question in the box. Can you annotate on the transcript as they listen? No, unfortunately, you cannot at this point. I'd be curious to hear from you, Eric, in your responses, and I'm going to show some of the feedback. How do you give feedback to your students?
Well, that's a hard question. I teach in a classroom where we are more cooperative learning. So at the beginning of the year, we start out with Google, and Listenwise is used as a tool. As the year goes on, as the kids are more comfortable with it, we use it more and more as a class starter or something to enrich what they do. So if there's a lesson, and I think you're going how to create a lesson, on the bottom, I will give feedback on the bottom. Like I'll just type it in, like, you know, if they got 9 out of 10 right, I'll say 90, good job. Next time, have more details. If we're using a story, like we use the story about the cows and the stock market because we do a stock market game, what we do is we have a discussion about it and we speak about what goes on. The more that the kids speak, the more points that they get, which is the higher grade that they will receive. If they're doing the quizzes every Wednesday, their grade is what they get on the quiz. So those are 3 ways that I give feedback. One of the things that we do at the end of the quarter is with the honors kids, we have a Listenwise discussion day where my honors kids are required every quarter to do 10 Listenwise in addition to the Wednesday ones. And what they have to do is they have to listen to the podcast, answer the questions on a Google slide. The last day of the quarter, we sit down in a big circle and we throw up the page that you're seeing on the screen right now. And a kid will raise their hand and say, I want to talk about, should the Spanish language be gender neutral? And the kid summarizes what that podcast was about. And then kids can comment, they can ask questions, they can make statements. And then as long as that conversation is vibrant, we keep going with it. Every time someone talks or they say something, they get points. Once the conversation becomes a little stagnant, we move on to the next topic. So every quarter we do that. So over the course of the year, the kids are getting minimally 80 Listenwise in the honors program, plus whatever we discuss over those 3 Listenwise discussion days. So they're getting a lot of background Kids will respond to them. They'll get, information. Like kids will correct each other. Like, in this story they said this, and the kids will say, no, that wasn't it. It happened. It said this. So they're kind of talking to each other and correcting each other and getting feedback from each other as well.
That's great. That sounds really vibrant. And I think it would probably translate well online as in a way to open maybe a Google Doc or conversation that you have, or asking instead of, talking about it in class, but saying, write up 3 sentences what that story is about, and then having a comment on it. I just wanted to note that the one you were talking about, should the Spanish language be gender neutral, is a debate. Every Friday, we highlight a debate story with a central question. And the idea is to do, exactly what it says, getting students to think about 2 sides of an issue and debating it. You could craft a debate through the lesson creation process and that create assignment process, or you could do something in class as well. I feel like in the current events at this time, at this moment where it's hard to engage students, you want to get them interested in participating in class, and you want something short, simple, and fun, that we've added a new type of audio just a couple of months ago that is perfect for this. This we're calling Weird News. These are only 30 seconds long. We have them focus on a couple of vocabulary words in the audio, but they're just really fun stories that are going to stick in your head. So let me just play this one because it's only 30 seconds long.
Good morning, I'm Rachel Martin. Students at the Bronx High School of Science in New York haven't set foot on their campus in weeks, but now they can visit anytime they'd like in the virtual building game Minecraft. Using blueprints and photos of the school, students created a scale model of the building. They can't stage a graduation there, but it helps them feel connected. They spared no detail, using pixels to recreate murals and desks, even the seagulls that congregate around the trash cans outside.
So a really fun story that's going to stick in their head. But the questions focus on some of those vocabulary words. So just something fun to assign and talk about, because I know right now there are many teachers, who are asked to, you just have a hard job right now, right, Eric? I mean, tell me, I know you've got a high attendance rate, but a lot of teachers are struggling to get kids to even come to class. And the idea is to try to hook them in and get them into something that's engaging is of critical importance right now.
Absolutely.
So we're almost out of time, and I wanted to have Tyler chime in here as your student teacher. He's somebody who came on, he said, right as COVID hit and schools let out. But Tyler, have you had a chance to use Listenwise in your student teaching? Uh-oh, I don't hear Tyler. Tyler, you might be muted. While you're coming on, I have a question here. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but before I turn it to you, there is a question about creating a Google Doc using the transcripts that students could annotate. That was a great suggestion, Kieran, that you can take a copy of the transcript. You can download the transcript, print the transcript, and what one of the teachers online here suggested is that you can just stick that into a Google Doc and then have students annotate it. All right, Tyler, take it away. We're going to wrap it up with you.
Sure. Well, I have not really had extensive use with Listenwise. The few stories that I have listened to and what I've heard from Eric and all the other comments I've been reading about it, it seems like it has a really good use, especially now. In my program, there's 12 other student teachers, and we have a seminar every week and we talk. And a lot of what I hear over and over again is no one really knows what is an appropriate amount of work to assign. And then there's another issue with younger students. My mom teaches 5th grade at Lindenhurst. And what she is having an issue with is it's hard to know what students are going to be able to do without teacher supervision. So I think Listenwise is in a really good position where if you establish it in your class as part of a routine, if something like this were to happen, or if there was some disruption to normal day-to-day schooling, Listenwise kind of fits this crisis learning model perfectly. Students will have the routine. You can give them engaging stories that connect to the curriculum, and it's something that if you introduce in the classroom, you know all the students will be able to effectively use. So I look forward to when I begin my teaching career. I really look forward to exploring Listenwise because I think it has a great place in the social studies classroom for sure, especially with all the current events materials it has.
All right, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. We have another question, just so we'll wrap up. It's Ellen is asking, if the fall is online, will the premium features be free or discounted again? Ellen, we are working through that ourselves right now, to be honest. As I said, there is a free, Listenwise is free for teachers to use as a listening resource. So all of the audio stories and the listening discussion questions and the listening comprehension questions are free to use. They will always be free. However, the features with the transcripts and the assignments that I've shown you are part of the paid subscription. So, we've said we'll keep it open as schools are closed, and we don't really know what the future holds yet. So I can't answer that definitively, yes or no. We want to support you, and we hope we'll always be there to help you. So I'm going to wrap it up now, and thank you, Eric Eve, so much for joining me. Tyler.
Thank you, Monica. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thanks everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. Good luck, and thanks for all you're doing.